What's going on, you guys? Slim here with a new video today, and well, you guys, welcome to the new format. It is officially July 1st. Dryden is gone, LP is gone, Misk is at 1, Mirage Stalio is at 1, Harp and Colossus, they're still on the list, but Engage came back to 1. With that being said, we have our ultimate side deck guide for this new format, and hopefully you guys do enjoy. I know you guys enjoy these videos, so as always, if you're new here, consider subscribing, hit that notification bell. You guys be notified whenever I upload. If you want to support the channel, please use my TCG player link, as well as shopping at ybm.com. Use the code SLIM5, you'll get 5% off. With all that out of the way, you guys already know how I do things here. With this one in particular, I'm only using cards that I have at my disposal and cards that I have and I keep in my utility box to side against the format. You guys know how important your side deck is. It's been said multiple times, but I'll say it again. You will definitely play more games sided than not sided, so take this into account. And we're going to just go through. I have several sections to go through for this format. And remember, you only get 15 cards, but this is just to show you guys the large pool that you do have at your disposal to side against the meta. So let's get into it. I don't need to explain this. This is literally the best side deck card like ever printed, in my opinion. I absolutely love Pankratops. I feel like it should be in every side deck, and if it's not in a side deck, it's in the main deck, and it's at 1 for a reason. So I had to get that one out of the way. You guys know I've always got that obligatory card that should be like in every side deck or main deck. We're going to start with the hand traps though. So there are a lot of them. You have Ash Blossom. It's just the most generic. If it's not in your main deck, it can be in your side deck. I've seen some players side this. Like, you don't want it game 1, you want it for game 2 against certain interactions like Red Eyes Fusion and stuff that can really give your give your strategy a problem. So Ash is standard. I really think Imperm and Valor have come back into this format extremely good against Drytron, hitting Diviner, also very, very good against Tri-Brigade. Like, these cards have really come back into the format. And I actually threw Chalice in here. Now, I know this isn't technically a hand trap, it's not a trap at all, obviously, but it is a quick play. Effect Valor, you are able to use it going second, going first, you can set it, being able to negate an opponent's monster. It does gain the 400, that's not really a big deal. You can also use this as as like a double-edged sword with your field, that you're boosting your monsters by 400, can sometimes come up for game or just to get over problematic monsters. I wanted to put Valor here with the Imperms and I want to put Chalice here with the Imperms and the Valors because I feel like they all pretty much accomplish the same thing. So that's why I wanted to use these as just like general effect negation, which has become very, very good this format. Other hand traps, just very standard stuff. The Drytron hate. What can I say? You guys know when Joel is in the format, it's crazy. Cycle Reader obviously is strictly for Drytron, but it is extremely good. Double DD Crow is insane. So I have to mention those. Drolls is just good against a lot of decks in the format. Like I said, when it's a Droll format, you guys already know. And just we got the graveyard hitters. We've got the Bells. We've got the Crows. We've got the Skullmeisters. They're all good in their own respect. They hit a lot of things. This can get rid of Engage. This can hit Revolt. This can hit a plethora of things. All very good against Drytron as well. Crowing the Ben 10 is crazy. So you guys already know, if it's not in your main deck, it could be in your side deck. You're able to use these against Drytron and a lot of just graveyard-based strategies. And again, Crow and Engage decided to come back at 1 feels pretty good. So I have to mention those. Skullmeister is very versatile as well. And worst case scenario, you can normal summon this thing, and it is a 1700 beater. I have done that before. It's very, very weird, but it's just good to have at your disposal. Other hand traps. So Nibiru is an interesting place. It is very good against certain decks, but since Dragon Link did kind of fall down a little bit, I don't think the deck is dead by any means, any stretch of the imagination. I think we're going to see players try to innovate and bring the deck back. Like, it constantly survives every format. Nibiru is just good against combo decks, though, when they overextend. Virtual World is starting to pick up steam. This card is very good against Virtual World, unless they make the combo to go Crystal Wing, but I mean, you can also use this against other decks. Phantasme, again, this card is very good. I know my boy Yassine mentioned how much he loves this hand trap. Card's really good against a lot of decks this format. Like, every deck pretty much links summons. That's how it's always been. Outside of Virtual World, every deck pretty much links summons. With Salamangreat coming back, this card is great. Against Striker, this card is great. It's just a very, very strong card overall. And then I have Lancias. Lancia's just always been good. It's a blanket hand trap. Any hand trap that lasts for the whole turn is just nuts. No banishing. It's decent against Tri-Brigade. Good against other strategies. You can use it against Invoke when they have Invocation, stuff like that. So this card's just always been good, and just a card that I feel like is just a generic mention at this point. So I got those. And then, of course, last but not least, for what I think are some of the main hand traps, you have the Gamma Driver. Certain decks will play this, get a lot of advantage with it. I know dinos have gone down a little bit. However, I've already seen players finding ways to make up for the 2 copies of Mist that were lost. And this card has just always been in the deck. The deck is very strong. They like to go second. They activate something, you try to Ash, you use a hand trap, they Gamma you, make Omega, you lose another card. Like, this card is just fantastic. Just always been a very, very strong hand trap. Even though you have to run the brick, it definitely outweighs you know, running the brick because of how strong it is. And then just some final honorable mentions are Ogre and Retaliating C. So what I am missing, I will put it up on the screen, is Contact C. I actually do not have that card at my disposal currently. It's just a very good card against the format. Ogre has some interesting applications. It just depends on the format. I just like to mention it just for budget hand traps. And Retaliating C is very good against Shaddolls. It's also decent against Prey Kids. You can even use it against Dry Charm. Whenever they use a spell that would special summon and you just retaliating them, it becomes a macro. So it's crazy. I just thought I'd mention it because it's just a card that I see, and it's a card I keep in my utility box just for the formats, especially when dolls are around. This card is just amazing. It has always been great against Shaddolls. So that is the hand trap portion. Now we're going to run on to the spell and trap stuff. This is just standard stuff for spells. Like, just say no to all the spells. Like, I just have to mention this. This is especially like against Striker, against spell heavy decks. What can I say? Literally have to set them. Literally can't play. Like, this card is nuts. I don't know why that card ever came back. You know, that I think about it. Generic ones to mention, they're just broken. That's why they're at 1. Duster and Reboot, standard, go for game. Wipe a whole back row, pretty crazy. And then the back row section always is fast because it's all the same standard stuff. Lightning Storms, yo, shout out to the reprint. At least more players will have access to it. There's Twins, there's Cosmics, there's even good old MSTs. I got Evenlies, and I've got Heavy Storm Dusters. Okay, these cards basically all do the same thing. They all get rid of back row in some shape or form. Some are more mass removal, some are banishing and evenly matched. Some are, you know, good in trap mirrors, like Heavy Storm Duster. It is also trap trickable. MST, so the reason why I finally have MST back here, and probably the first time making its debut in this series, is because if your deck loses to Lancia and you can't play Cosmic Cyclone, you can play Mystical Space Typhoon. Just a quick play. Yeah, it doesn't banish the card, but if you're under Lancia, you couldn't banish the card anyway, so I had to mention it. It just felt cool to dig out MSTs after so many years. So yeah, you guys already know there's so many ways to remove back row. Like, there's probably more than this. There's a lot of options. I just like to mention it because, you know, back row decks are very strong, so you always have to be prepared. Next, I've got the board breaking cards, as I like to call them. This just gives you options against the big build-a-board decks and stuff like that to crack the boards. Of course, you've got your Dark Rulers and you got your Droplets. Again, shout out to the other future reprints. The Ulti is insanely pricey, but you guys already know at least this card is starting to go down, and with the other reprints on the horizon, it'll become more accessible for more players. So I always have to mention these. These are just the generic back row removals that just come, I mean, the generic board breakers. You've got the triple Super Polys. Obviously, if your deck can play Super Polys, is very good against a lot of decks. Play the correct extra deck monsters to go with this, and you're good to go. Opponent cannot respond to this card. This card is absolutely insane. You can just crack a board with unopposed. So always got to mention this, especially if you're a player that is playing a deck like Shaddol, stuff like that. It's probably already in your main deck. If for some reason it's not in your main deck, it's for some reason in your side deck, you can play it. I always like to talk about Torrential. I put this in the board clears. This card is good going first, going second. You can literally Torrential into a, you know, your opponent can walk into a Torrential. You can Torrential, you know, going second if your opponent gets greedy. Like, you can just clear boards, comboing it with other cards that I'll talk about, and you can break whole boards with this single card. So this card is fantastic. This one, I put this in board breaking. I'm not 100% sure if this is correct. You guys can, you know, tell me about it in the comments, but this is literally, if you can just literally, they use a monster effect. You can literally take Dragoon, you can take anything, and this can just stop, you know, this can just break a board with taking their Dragoon. This can break cards in hand. This can, you know, just take things off the field, and you can go for game with this. You know, sometimes you can link climb and access code talker, and you get stuff like that, and that's how you go for game. So I thought I'd put talents in here. I wasn't really sure where else to put it, maybe in the utility cards, but I figured, you know, this card, I've seen this card break more boards just by literally baiting a negate and then taking a Dragoon and then just ending the game right there. And then these last ones, Alpha was really good last format against Dragons. I don't know how good it will be this format, but I wanted to mention it because I think the card is still very strong. Being a free special summon, going second, being able to just punch over Winda by itself, being able to trade with other cards just makes it really strong. Obviously, it's not as good as Pankratops, but this card still is strong, so I wanted to mention it for sure. And then the last one is Godarla. This can be any kaiju you want. The reason I'm choosing Godarla is because of the wind statue. We don't want to lose to the wind statue, so this is the best option, but you can play any kaiju you want. I got 2 more sections, you guys. So we're going to go with the floodgates next. Now, I know floodgates are floodgates, you know, prepare for them. That's what the back row section is for. You've got your summon limits, slow games down, tempo them to your speed, and you'll win. There can only be one against certain decks. I've literally got the Trinity. I've got the Rivalries and the Gozens to go with that too. All deck dependent. I know the Eldritch Zombie deck can play Rivalry. Zombie World plus Rivalry is absolutely busted. Gozen can be played in certain decks. There can only be one can be played in certain decks. Like, you already know, Strikers can play these and just, you know, go miles with them. So yeah, these cards are crazy. I just thought I'd mention them because they're just all floodgates. If your deck can play them, you know, they're very, very strong and completely, you know, turn the tide of a game by themselves and break boards by themselves. So They're amazing. And then just to mention ones, I had to mention Soul Drain. I just think the card is really cool. Shutting off graveyard stuff is awesome. Shutting off effects that banish. Again, just another card I wanted to bring you guys. If you're thinking of siding cards, like this gives you another option. This card has popped in and out of formats. It was in last format, and it is pretty strong in certain decks. So I do like the card a lot. And then these are just your gimmicky one-ofs. If you somehow see these cards, I mean, these cards are busted. There's a reason why they're at 1. Skill Drain, Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos. Like literally, these just are just game ending. This is literally game ending. I mean, if your deck can play them, play them. Like Pure Zoo, you know, unfortunately, shout out to Dryden. We miss you, but we're able to play both of these cards. Maybe Pure Zoo will find a way. It just becomes Zeus Turbo again, and they'll have to find ways to, you know, to innovate without Dryden. But I mean, these cards, I mean, you open these cards, like you can literally win the game right there. So that's all that. And in the last section, you guys are trying to make this as fast as possible, is the utility cards, like going first. You know, especially like when you know you're going to go first. Like, these are just really solid cards. I always have to talk about the Solemns. These are literally the 6 no's, as I call them. They literally just say no to everything, and they're fantastic. Again, they're not in your main deck. They can be in your side deck. Judgment is definitely one of the main side deck cards that I do see a lot of decks siding for when they go first. One of my personal favorite packages is the Artifact package. Being able to have this against pretty much any deck in the format that just ends their turn. They can't summon for the extra deck. They pass. You have a free 2200 beater. You just go off, and 9 times out of 10, you can end the game right there, because you got to turn back to you. So fantastic. And then I've got just some other stuff, some budget alternatives to stuff. You can have D barriers. Barriers actually not that bad. You can use it against pretty much any deck, like being able to use it against Virtual World calling Synchros, being able to use it against Drytron calling Rituals. But, you know, you have a lot of options. Pendulums, if they show up, you already know, and just other decks in general. I just like to give other budget options, because the next card is not budget. It's interesting to see where this card will fall this format. I really like Ice Dragon's Prison. I know it's not good against Drytron, but it is good against a lot of other decks. Now, while Dinos did lose the extra copies of Misk, like, you can still use it in that matchup, being able to, you know, hit other cards, being able to hit the Misk out of grave and then hit Oviraptor, stuff like that is cool. So against other decks, like, this card will come up. You can even use it against dragons and stuff, so it's decent. And, you know, Tri-Breed and stuff like that. And then this personal favorite, just like this, is just literally flip this. It's literally D-Shifter and just trap form. It's like the OG version. During the turn, any card sent to the graveyard is, any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead, so card's just great. And then a card I've really seen starting to pop up a lot is a pointer when you go first. Like, literally having hand knowledge is insane. I've seen Adignister really play this, because they literally are looking for a kaiju, because their towers guy loses to a kaiju, but they can literally flip this, get the kaiju out of your hand, have knowledge of your whole hand, and then you really do struggle to play against them. So I had to mention that. And last but not least, if you're playing a back row deck and you know they're coming for your back row, Waken the Dragon, summon the appropriate target. 9 times out of 10, it's like Last Warrior, Dragoon, or Megaclops, or one of those crazy cards. And all of those cards give your opponent trouble, and it can definitely bring you back into a game that you were losing anyway. But that is it, you guys. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Be sure to smash that like button if you did. I tried to make this as fast as possible. I know this is a longer video than usual, but there's a lot to talk about, a lot to cover, and hopefully you guys did enjoy. Let me know your thoughts about the overall video. Let me know what cards you are citing that I definitely did not mention. Again, I don't own every card in the game. These are just what I keep at my disposal, you know, just depending on what decks I'm playing and how to, you know, shape up against every format and against the meta decks that will be played in this new format. But that's everything for today, you guys. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.
Thank you all for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and a special thanks to all my patrons. It's because of you, after all these years, I'm still able to make this type of content. Hopefully you guys will check out some of the videos that are suggested here for you, and just remember, you guys, it's not just a game, it's a lifestyle. Thanks for watching.